said you can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song.
Welcome to Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged with your host, Brain Fitzpatrick. Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged is a snapshot of the day-to-day experiences of disabled individuals as they navigate the world around us. We wish to shed light and open your eyes on a new perspective of people with disabilities. And by going unplugged, we can discuss viewpoints we hope will challenge our viewers' points of view. Most of us have disabilities we must live with, but what defines us is the way we deal with them. And now, here's your host, Brain Fitzpatrick.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick bringing you another episode of Wheeling the Pathway of Life. Today, I have a very special guest. And we're going to be talking about the AFC program, which is, I'm going to explain it, but good afternoon, Lee.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on your show today.
You're welcome, thank you. Can you explain to us what the AFC program is?
The AFC program is a Medicaid-funded program through that is also known as adult foster care or adult family care. It is where an individual with a disability lives in home with a caregiver, and that caregiver provides, all the care that they need in their day-to-day. Some of this care is, the physical aspects of like bathing, toileting, and then other aspects of the care is bringing them to any appointments that they may need, and just, anything.
Basically, anything a normal person would do on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And the caregiver is not only a caregiver, but you can basically call it the family. If it can be an individual caregiver, or the family can be a part of the AFC program, right?
Yeah, a lot of times our caregiver is a family member, whether it's a mom, dad, sister, brother, but we do have some caregivers that are just, community citizens that are willing to help out and, care for an individual.
What's the difference between AFC and the other? You take care of two sections of. Is it basically the same thing, or is it two separate sections between the AFC program and the adult family care?
They are pretty much the same program, so they're not really split into two sections.
Okay.
It's just kind of different agencies have decided to call it adult family care to kind of limit the stigma that comes along with the terminology foster care.
Okay. It's kind of like when DMR became DDS, it's to avoid the stigma of being calling somebody mentally retarded. that was not good. That's not considered. That's not considered proof. Politically correct, or is it right to be calling somebody mentally retarded and stuff like that in the community and stuff like that anymore? So that's part of the reason why they put all these letters of the alphabet together. Another project that you're doing that I am currently helping you with is you're currently going to school to get your degree. So you and I are doing an internship. You're doing the internship. I'm just assisting.
Yes.
With the internship.
So right now I am at Westfield State University and I am studying clinical social work. So hopefully by the end of my 3 years, I'll have a master's in social work. And right now you have been helping me with an internship that I'm doing as part of that.
And one of the things that I'm learning, folks, is in doing the internship and in going to both offices, a lot of people, both offices, UCP, a lot of people say, well, agencies don't really care about the clients. All they care about is funding and stuff like that. And all they care about is making sure things are paid for and stuff like that. That's far from the truth. If you saw some of the day-to-day operations of both offices and some of the things that they have to do that a lot of people don't know about, that kind of attitude would change. And I would hope it would change anyway. People caring for other people actually care about the job too. They don't only care about their job, but they care about the people they work for, and they want to see the best outcome for the person that they're working with. So, what do you think a couple of different examples of things you picked up so far during the internship? I know we're not even halfway through the internship yet, but that you picked up so far that you think would stick with you the most?
I think there's a few things that I have taken away through my experience, especially working with you. Is the first, in my main position, I primarily work with caregivers and managing the care that they provide to the client. I do have some client interactions, but I've been really enjoying the one-on-one time that I've been receiving with clients. And I really hope to continue working one-on-one with clients going forward in my career. It's really nice to get to hear their perspective and their take on things. Something else that I have learned and that you and I have talked about quite a bit is, that concept of, not judging a book by its cover. Just because someone may look different than you do doesn't mean that they don't have, wonderful ideas, and that we should definitely take the opportunity to hear them out. I would say those are the two biggest things that kind of come to mind after you ask me that question.
And along with that, the reason why that came up is because a lot of people see me and other people in compromising situations with a disability, and they say, what can he do? What can she do? Or, what kind of difference in society are they gonna have because of their disability? And that's far from this. That's not even, I won't say it's not even a consideration, but it's a very, very minuscule part of day-to-day operations at UCP, and what we strive for is to give the clients some independence they deserve, and that they have the right to be as independent as they want to be, or be as independent as they can be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And one of the other situations that I know you and I talk about all the time is the difference aspect of, even though UCP and the support, the decisions, for the most part, are the individual decisions. But basically, it's what they want. It's basically what they need and want. It's not so much. Even the caregivers can disagree, but as long as it's not harmful or in any way gonna harm them or make their life harder, UCP allows, clients to basically do what they want as far as making decisions and kind of running their own program.
I'm very fortunate to work for an organization that really does believe in supporting the individuals and their wants and needs. I think myself and my other colleagues really strive to, live by the motto, life without limits.
Yes. Gee, I've heard that before. And like I say all the time, is life with limits, because there's always limits of what people can do, but the limits should not be put on by someone else. It should be put on by the circumstances surrounding the individual that's trying to do whatever they're trying to do. It's not a case of an agency saying you can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. This is physically impossible because I can't do it anyway. I mean, even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it. So it's not like any agency is putting a limit on the individual. It's the circumstances surrounding the individual is putting the limit on them.
I think that's a great perspective.
And not the people around them putting the limits on them. I won't say it's a definite. I won't say it doesn't happen, but it very rarely happens with UCP. And, you know, when they do put limits on, it's for safety reasons, and you know.
I was going to say, usually when I have to, put some type of limitation, it's because of, safety and well-being is, the first thing that's coming to mind.
or getting legally in trouble.
Oh yeah, we definitely try to refrain from any legal issues.
Yeah, we don't promote, clients going out there and doing whatever. What I mean is doing whatever they want within limits. I mean, it's life without limits, but there's always natural limits in anybody's situation, so.
Yeah, and something that I also express to my clients is while you have your human rights, those human rights come with responsibilities. So that can also...
I've heard that before. Yeah.
Well, you've been with the company for a long time. I'm sure you have.
I'd say 40+ years has been a long time. Let's put it this way. We do not have the same staff. Every one of the staff that I have at least changed once since my coming on the agency.
Well, turnover is to be expected over the course of 40 years.
Yes, since I started at the age of 3 with UCB. So, like you were saying when we first started was the interaction between you and the clients or consumers, whatever you want to call them, with respect, call them, but I mean, is in your current position, you deal with more of a caregiver type situation and kind of deal with the caregiver more than you do with the consumer, and that's can get a little frustrating from your perspective. Is that right?
I do provide social and emotional support to clients, but a lot of my interactions in the day-to-day is with the caregiver. For the most part, caregivers are, typically very pleasant, but there's always butting heads, especially since a lot of times the caregiver is a parent or a family member. So they typically believe that they have the client's best interest in mind, but it's hard because you're family, and that causes, some extra layers to the puzzle.
And carefully, I'm sure you hear, I know better than you do, and you can't tell me how to deal with my family member because I know better than you do, because I've been together with them longer than you, so, I'm sure you get that argument sometimes.
At times I definitely do, but I really strive to meet a compromise so that we can all work together for the better interest of the client as a whole.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, being a family member is a tough position to be in. I'm not saying that it isn't, but also being a care provider at UCP and making sure that the care needs are met is also a difficult situation. I'm sure you and I can speak for the other members of the team too, that some of these roles, believe me, and I've had conversations with some of these people, the rules that they have to put on these people, the rules that they have to put on these clients, they don't want to put on them. That's what they're told to do. I mean, that's what, you know, some of the legal aspects of things, that's what the agency has to do. Believe me, I get into conversations where some of the staff are figuratively beating your head against the wall saying, why do I have to do that? Because that's not going to work for this client, but that's what they have to do compared to what they want to be able to do, you know. And then there's situations where we say, okay, if we do it this way, we can still provide the services we need. We still can provide the services that the client wants. It still meets the legal aspect of, you know.
Yeah, with the program being funded by Mass Health, there's a lot of regulations that we have to, you know, adhere to due to the state. But I think we try to get a little creative to ensure that we are still, you know, taking the client and the caregiver's, you know, thoughts and opinions into consideration while still adhering to those guidelines.
I've been in those meetings several times, and as a matter of fact, they got one tomorrow. Due to the cost of fire alarm systems and smoke detectors with computer chips in them so they can be monitored off-site. We're talking 200 to 300 each for the alarm systems that I got.
Oh, wow.
And I want to outfit the entire house with them, so it's going to take a little bit of negotiations and going back to the funding source to say, okay, we got to rework this funding for this. You know, so we're always trying to figure out ways to meet the client's needs. It's not always easy, but and Lee, I think you're doing a great job as to understanding me as far as where I'm at as far as the advocacy, but it's good to see other people's perspectives on ways that you do things or ways that I can look at things that'll benefit me in the long run and benefit other people in the long run.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you've enjoyed working with me as much as I've enjoyed working with you. And it's been really a pleasure to see your perspective of, you know, all these issues as well.
And I even shock you at times where your eyes go wide open like deer with headlights, deer with headlights, deer looking in the headlights, because you're like, wow, I didn't really look at that situation and say, what's one of the situations you and I worked with that came up with? That came up.
Something that shocked me?
Yeah.
I would say probably your evacuation protocol.
Yeah.
I write household disaster plans in my role as an AFC care manager. And a lot of times the focus of that disaster plan is ensuring that the caregiver can get the member out of the home safely. Whereas in your case, you actually request that your staff either leave you if you're in bed, you stay there, and they go out and evacuate themselves and contact the fire department, and they let them know where you are once they've arrived, and then the fire department can evacuate you because it's safer that way. Or if you're in a building that has stairs, closing you behind the fire doors, and the stairwell is much more safer than trying to put you into an elevator or trying to carry you out. So that was something that was a really great shock to me.
Yeah, that is a great shock to most people. And folks, before we get too far with that subject, I'm not saying I relish the fact that, that's my evacuation procedure, but it just works, and it's the most safest way to approach situations in my situation.
Yeah, I think hearing your rationale behind why it is the way it is made perfect sense once you explained it to me, but it was not something that, first came to mind when you asked me, what do you think my evacuation plan is?
How much explanation do you find yourself having to do for clients? I mean, as far as what their plans are, why their plans are the way they are. And sitting there trying to explain to caregivers, look, this is why we gotta do it the way we gotta do it. It's not just, this is negotiable.
A lot of time the caregiver and myself will kind of collaborate to create the evacuation plan. So there is usually some, level of understanding as to why it has to be the way it is. And I think most of our caregivers, honestly, all of our caregivers care a lot about their member. And their main goal is to, get that person out safe in an emergency, no matter what it takes.
But also, my perspective on it too is, if a caregiver tried to get me out during a situation, and let's say it's a minor situation, but we have to evacuate, then I have to worry about who's going to take care of me while the person recovers from trying to evacuate me and hurt themselves trying to evacuate me. So therefore we wind up with a twofold situation. We wind up dealing with the emergency and dealing with a staff shortage because we,
Yeah.
they evacuated when they knew they shouldn't, or physically tried to do something that potentially hurt themselves or worse. And that's not something I want to have necessarily in my conscience, as far as, knowing that, I know that they can't do something and,
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. And once you explained all the factors that went into that decision to me, I completely understood where you were coming from. It is, you know, in your opinion, it is ultimately in the best interest of both you and the staff that is caring for you at that time.
Yeah. When we come back in just a couple minutes, we'll get into another one of the projects we are working on. And I mentioned here the What About Brian book, and we'll get into the progress of that and explain a little more about the What About whoever the person you're making the book for, what the book will be useful for whoever you're working with. We will be right back, folks.
I have a maker. He formed my heart before even time began. My life was in his hands. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. I have a Father. He calls me his own. He'll never leave me, no matter where I go. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. You hear me when I call. He hears me when I call.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick, bringing you another episode of Wheeling the Pathway to Life. What do I mean? What did I mean by a What About Brian book? Can you kind of explain what's those kind of books would entail?
Yeah, of course. So the What About Brian book just kind of goes into all the details about Brian that you would need to provide care for him. Brian thought this would be a wonderful tool for him when it comes to training staff, such as PCAs. So in that book, we kind of have like all the medications that he takes in his day-to-day, including, you know, some as-needed medications that he might request, what his, you know, general schedule is like, what kinds of things he would want his staff to complete for him around the home, just like a good overall care plan, so that whoever is caring for him has a good idea what his needs are in his day-to-day.
Even when I'm not there, some of the things, or even when I'm not at the house, what can be done if I'm not home or something, and when to start to get worried about, okay, Brian's not home within a certain amount of time. What do I do? Who do I contact? That kind of situation.
Yeah, but you have some emergency contact information in there as far as, you know, the UCP on-call phone, so that if someone needed to get a hold of a staff at UCP, they could, and some family contact information so that, you know, if necessary, they could get a hold of somebody.
Or if I mysteriously fall off a sidewalk or something?
Oh boy, hopefully that does not occur. But yes, if an emergency were to occur, there is a bit of an emergency protocol that, you know, Brian himself would like the staff to follow listed in there.
Yeah. What I'd also like to do is once we finish up the What About Brian book, and we're just about there, we're just gonna go over it and just kind of show people and see if there's anything we're missing or whatever. And one of the things I'd like to do is also make up one from that book, make up some pages, kind of a template for other individuals, so that even if they're not necessarily directly involved with UCP, if somebody comes into the office and asking questions about safety issues and stuff like this, we can show them the book and say, okay, these are the examples you can use for these circumstances. Why don't you take a copy of it and use it in your own situation? Kind of giving you a template to say, okay, you know.
I definitely think we could make a template and we could design it in a way that is user-friendly to almost anyone to fill out. I think it would be a really beneficial tool for someone who does have PCA staff or even has a live-in caregiver. You know, anything could really happen, and if someone needed to step in and provide care to that individual, it would be a good, you know, starting point to look at what that individual may need.
And one of the other things we're looking at too is creating, out of that book, is creating emergency fact cards.
Yes.
So that they can be handed to EMS and say, okay, these are the circumstances that may be in a situation where you've got the person in the back of the ambulance and you're trying to figure out what the possibilities of what's wrong with them. Make it quicker for them to identify what could be wrong with them.
Yeah, I think the emergency cards are a wonderful idea that you've come up with and would truly be beneficial for anyone, especially if someone was in a condition or state where they could not communicate those kinds of things to the EMS staff. Someone could, give them that emergency card, and the EMS staff could have a much better understanding of what that individual needs in that moment.
Or at the moment, it's not so much they can't communicate, it's the fact that they may be frustrated or upset about something and they need information as quickly as they can. And
yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios where those cards would be beneficial.
And I think when we do the pages, I think copies should be put in both locations so that we can, if we can, we'll put them in both locations, North and South counties, so that,
Yeah, and I know even for yourself, you've mentioned that you would like to have an electronic copy. I'm sure we could offer that as well.
I'm trying to think outside the box all the time, and remember, folks, as I always say, this show is for you. This show is for the disabled community as a whole. If there's anything you need or anything you want to see discussed or anything you feel as though need to be touched upon more, let me know, and I will gladly put that on the show. And you can get a hold of me at wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com, wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com, and let me know anything you may need or any questions you may have, because if it was just me talking about what I need for services and what I do for services, it may not be beneficial to you. And this show and the concept of this show is to be as beneficial for you as well as being beneficial for me. And it's also to point out difficulties for the disabled people and for the caregivers to realize that, hey, this is a problem. I can think of one that's sticks out right now is you and I taking a look at the doors at North Adams. Those are majorly an issue, and as far as the person in the wheelchair getting in and out of them. So I'm working on getting those taken care of as well. Because it's very hard to get wheelchairs through doors that go the opposite way.
Yeah, I think you've done a really wonderful job advocating for not only yourself, but other individuals that might come to the office that utilize a wheelchair. I did, witness for the first time last week that some of the difficulties that come along with, the door situation and getting you out of the office. So I completely understand why you are advocating for that. And that is not something that I probably would have, thought too much of until you brought it up to me.
You didn't actually see what I was talking about until I actually went through the situation with you and
Yeah.
said, okay. Because even though most people have a disability and don't even know it, I'm sure you've got disabilities that, things you have trouble with, but until you're put in that situation, you don't know what,
Yeah, sometimes you kind of need to step into someone else's shoes, per se, and kind of, take a look at it from their perspective to fully understand, what that truly is like.
Because you can get up and walk out the door on a Friday or a Monday afternoon after work and say, okay, I'll just go open the door, and you don't sit there and study what it takes for somebody in a wheelchair to actually do that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the projects. And the other project we are working on, and I promise folks I will get on this because I've talked about it so many times on the show, is doing a town hall meeting and getting some of these issues taken care of, and at least identifying what the issues are and what can be done about it. And we and I have been working on that as well, and compiling a list of people we're going to invite, and starting to put the invitations together and see who wants to participate. And, so that's coming, and it may take some time to get things done, but I am actively, daily almost, thinking about this stuff and actually sleeping on it and waking up in the middle of the night saying, oh, that's an idea, get out, and thinking about it for a while, and then going away and saying, okay, we gotta figure out a way to do this, or we gotta, get this done. But one of the perspectives that I want people to know is, yes, there are people that do caregiving that don't take into consideration the actual impact they're having with the client, but they worry about, oh, I'm getting a paycheck, so I'll do what I have to do while I'm there. But then there's other people that actually do generally understand what the job requires and that are willing to go over and above the call of duty to make sure the job is done. And as we've said several times today already, and being that I've dealt with the agency for 40 plus years, I may be a little biased, but I think UCP is one of the best at advocating for what the client needs and doing everything they can to try and make sure that the client receives the best services they can and receives the best respectful and kind of care that they deserve. And they also try to support the staff that works with individuals as much as they can as well.
It truly makes me so happy to hear that you've had such a wonderful experience at UCP, and I am also biased myself as I employed there, but I have had a wonderful experience working at UCP as far as client interactions go. I feel like I really enjoy having the opportunity to go above and beyond for my clients that I work with, but I also feel so supported by the staff that I work alongside. And that is so important, especially working in the human services field.
There are clients that tend to pick on you and joke around with you, some more than others, but you'll get that once in a while.
And I can always appreciate a great laugh, so there's nothing wrong with that.
And a lot of the reason why I do it is from a psychological standpoint for me too. It's like everything is so, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? If you don't laugh and joke around about situations, you'll go absolutely crazy and you won't enjoy life as much as you can.
Well, it is important to be serious at certain times. You know, you gotta have those moments of, you know, happiness and laughter. It really does brighten up your day-to-day.
But you also gotta make sure that you don't do it at a level where it demeans the people that are taking care of you.
Yeah, you gotta respect everyone's boundaries. It's an excellent point.
You gotta make sure if you do say something that could be taken as an appropriate meaning, that you explain it to them and what you're doing, and you know, if they don't feel comfortable with it, then don't do it. But that is one of the things that even I fall through at times. But we all have different situations that we need to work on.
Yeah, there's always areas of improvement. Even I myself have areas that I, you know, strive to improve in. But I think what's important is that you're listening to those around you and taking their boundaries into consideration and, you know, doing your best to respect those.
I may not agree with everybody, but who does?
Yeah, and you know, I don't think in any world everyone's going to agree with everybody. But, you know, I think having respect for others' opinions is really what's most important.
In the last 5 minutes or so we have left, I can't believe the time has gone this quick, is how beneficial has your experience been going, how beneficial has your experience now been to you going forward in working with UCP and or working in a clinical field other than you get a degree out of this internship?
I think it has been incredibly beneficial to me. I've learned a lot so far, and then we're only, like you said, about halfway through. And I know that I will continue to learn a lot more going forward. And I think these are experiences that I will probably reflect on even after I get my degree and take into consideration when I am working with other clients.
And whenever you need a quick refresher,
You're only, one call away?
actually, maybe two.
Maybe two.
Maybe two. Depends on what office I'm in at the time, or where I am planning on being at the time. We joke about this all the time, and we say this all the time. Even the janitor, even the maintenance person at UCP goes way over and above the call of duty. He's not just a guy that does maintenance. He's also a guy that sets up meals works for the kitchen that sets up meals for people. So even down to the person that cleans the building, we take pride in what we do. And again, if you have any information or any questions for me or Lee, you can get a hold of me, and I can either pass your information on to Lee, or I can pass her email on to you, and then you can be a part of the family. And remember, folks, the show is for you. And remember, folks, it's not what the amount of stuff you can do, it's the amount of the stuff you can do the best you can. It's not having an amount of stuff that you gotta get done. It's doing what you can to the best of your ability. It's not how much stuff you can get done. It's what you can get done to the best of your ability. And with that, folks, we've had a great show, and I look forward to doing this again in the future sometime, maybe, Lee.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it, Lee, and thank you, folks, for watching today. And again, if you have any questions, get hold of me at wheelingthepathwayoflife.com. wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com. That's wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com. Have a great afternoon, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
You can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song. 'Cause when the Spirit's moving is where we'll be done. You can bury the workman, but the work will go on.